I found a diary in my dead grandmother's attic. The last entry was written the night she disappeared, and it was addressed to me by name, even though I was not born yet. My name is Rachel. I am 27 years old. I live in Savannah, Georgia. I teach elementary school. I drink too much coffee. I am afraid of the dark in a way I have never fully admitted to anyone. I have been afraid of the dark since I was 7 years old, since the night my grandmother disappeared. Her name was Eleanor. Everyone called her Ellie. She was 63 years old when she vanished from her farmhouse in rural Georgia on a Tuesday night in October 20 years ago. No signs of struggle, no forced entry, no footprints leaving the property. She was simply there one evening and gone the next morning. The case was never solved. My family stopped talking about it when I was 10, the way families stop talking about things that have no answer. You just close the door and leave it closed, and hope whatever is behind it stays there. I had not thought about my grandmother in years, until 3 months ago when my mother called to tell me that the farmhouse had finally been sold and everything inside needed to be cleared out before the new owners took possession. Nobody else could do it. My mother had a bad hip. My uncle lived overseas. I was the only one close enough and free enough to go. I drove out on a Saturday morning. The farmhouse was 2 hours from Savannah. Rural road, old property. A white clapboard house with a wide porch and a barn that had been slowly falling into the earth for decades. I had not been there since I was a child. Standing in the driveway, looking at it, I felt something I could not name. Not nostalgia exactly, something older, something that sat in the chest rather than the memory. I spent the morning going through the ground floor. Furniture, dishes, old photographs in cardboard boxes. The accumulated weight of a life lived long in one place. At around noon, I found the attic door, a pull-down ladder in the hallway ceiling. I had never been up there as a child. My grandmother had always said there was nothing up there worth seeing. I climbed up. The attic was low-ceilinged, dusty, hot in the October afternoon heat. The kind of space that feels preserved, like the air itself has not moved in years. Old trunks, a broken rocking chair, boxes of Christmas decorations, a dress form, the ordinary archaeology of a long life. And in the far corner under the eaves, a small wooden desk. I do not know why it drew me. There was nothing remarkable about it, just an old writing desk pushed into the darkest corner of the attic. But I went to it, and in the center drawer, a diary. Brown leather, worn at the corners. My grandmother's name embossed on the cover in faded gold letters. Eleanor May Holloway. I sat down on an old trunk and opened it. The entries went back 30 years, her handwriting neat and small and consistent. The kind of handwriting that belongs to a generation that was taught penmanship as a serious discipline. I flipped through slowly. Years of ordinary life, weather and recipes and observations about neighbors and notes about her garden. And then the entries began to change. About 2 years before she disappeared, the writing became different, tighter, more urgent, the letters pressing harder into the page. She wrote about sounds at night, something moving in the attic above her bedroom. She had assumed it was animals, raccoons or squirrels finding a way in through the eaves. She set traps, caught nothing. The sounds continued. 3 months before she disappeared, she wrote about a smell. Something she could not identify, sweet and wrong, coming from the walls of the house at night. She wrote that she had asked her neighbor to come and check. He found nothing, said the house was fine. She wrote that she knew he was wrong. 2 months before she disappeared, she wrote about the figure. She had woken at 3 in the morning to find something standing at the foot of her bed. She described it carefully in the way careful people describe things they are afraid will not be believed. Tall, too thin, standing with its arms at its sides, its head slightly too large, its face obscured but turned toward her. She wrote that she had not screamed, had not moved, had simply lain there and watched it until the light from a passing car swept across her bedroom window and it was gone. She wrote that it came back the next night and the night after that. Every night for 6 weeks she wrote about the figure at the foot of her bed and how each night it stood a little closer than the night before. 1 month before she disappeared, the entries became very short. Single sentences, sometimes just a few words. It was here again, closer tonight. I can hear it in the walls now. It knows I can hear it. 2 weeks before she disappeared, she wrote something that made me stop reading. She wrote, "I have found something in the attic. I do not know how long it has been there. I do not know what it means, but I think it has always been here. I think it was here before the house. I think the house was built on top of it." I looked up from the diary. I was sitting in her attic, the same attic she had written about. The hot afternoon air felt suddenly very close. I kept reading. 1 week before she disappeared, she wrote about a hole in the floor of the attic, under the old rug in the far corner. Not a structural gap, not an accident of old wood, something deliberate. A hole about the size of a dinner plate, perfectly circular, going down through the attic floor into the ceiling of the room below. She wrote that she did not know how long it had been there. She wrote that she thought something had made it. I stood up from the trunk, looked around the attic, found the old rug in the far corner, exactly where she had described. I did not want to lift it. Every part of me said, leave it. Leave the rug, take the diary, go downstairs, drive back to Savannah, and never come back. I lifted the rug. The hole was there, exactly as she had described it, perfectly circular, about the size of a dinner plate. I crouched down and looked through it. The room below was the hallway. I could see the top of the pull-down ladder I had come up. The hole was directly above it. Something had been watching every time someone came up into this attic, from directly above the only entrance, watching who came in, watching who came out. I went back to the diary, the entry for 3 days before she disappeared. She wrote that she had decided to leave, that she was going to her sister's house in Augusta, that she was going to pack a bag and go and not come back. She wrote that she was afraid, not of the figure, not of the hole. She was afraid because of what she had found underneath the house. Underneath the house. She did not describe it in that entry, just referenced it, like she could not bring herself to write the words. The next entry was 2 days before she disappeared. It said only, I did not think, I could not, it would not be. The final entry, the night she disappeared. I read it 3 times before I understood it. She wrote, "It has been here for a very long time, longer than the house, longer than this land was farmed, longer perhaps than this land was walked by anyone. It lives underneath, and it comes up through the walls at night." and it stands at the foot of the bed and it waits. I do not know what it waits for. I have been watching it watch me for 2 years, and I still do not know what it wants. But I know this: it has chosen the next one already. It always chooses the next one before it is finished with the current one. That is how it continues. That is how it has always continued. And then the last lines, the lines that made me put the diary down and sit in the hot attic silence for a very long time. She wrote, "I am sorry, Rachel. I tried to warn your mother, but she would not listen. I tried to sell this house, but it would not let me. I tried to leave, but the roads always brought me back. By the time you read this, I will be gone, and it will have moved on, and you will think you are safe. You are not safe. It chose you before you were born. It has been waiting for you to come back to this house. And now that you are here, it will not let you leave either." I closed the diary. I stood up. I walked to the attic ladder. I climbed down. I walked to the front door. I opened it, and I tried to leave. My car would not start. I am not a person who believes in coincidence in the way I used to, but I tried everything. The engine turned over and did not catch. Battery was fine. Fuel was fine. I had driven it 2 hours that morning without a single problem. It simply would not start. I called a tow company from my phone, got through, gave them the address. They said they would be there in 90 minutes. I went back inside to wait. I told myself I would wait on the porch, in the open air, in the daylight. I did not go back upstairs. At around 4 in the afternoon, the light began to change. That particular October light that goes golden and then gray very quickly. The tow truck had not arrived. I called back. The number went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. By 5, it was getting dark. I was still on the porch. And then I heard it, from inside the house, from above, from the attic. Movement. Slow, deliberate. The particular sound of something moving carefully across old wooden boards, moving toward the attic ladder. I got off the porch and walked to my car. I tried the engine again. It started immediately. I did not wait to understand why. I drove down the driveway and onto the road, and I did not look in the rear-view mirror until I had been driving for 20 minutes. When I finally looked, the road behind me was empty. I drove back to Savannah in 1 hour and 40 minutes. I did not stop once. I still have the diary. I have read the final entry many times since that day, looking for something I missed, some detail that changes the meaning, some rational explanation that I simply overlooked. I have not found one. 3 weeks after I came back from the farmhouse, I started having trouble sleeping, waking at 3 in the morning for no reason, lying still in my apartment and listening to the dark. Last week, I woke at 3 and could not go back to sleep. I lay there for a long time, and then I noticed something. At the foot of my bed, a shape, in the dark, tall, too thin, standing very still. I told myself it was the chair in the corner, clothes draped over it, shadows making it look like something it was not. I told myself that for a long time. Then I turned on the light. It was the chair, just the chair, just clothes. But the clothes were not arranged the way I had left them. And this morning I found something in my apartment that I cannot explain. In the far corner of my bedroom closet, on the floor, a hole, perfectly circular, about the size of a dinner plate. I did not make it. I have lived in this apartment for 3 years. It was not there yesterday. My grandmother wrote, "It chose you before you were born." I think she was right. I think it followed me home, and I think it has been here for a while, waiting, the way it always waits, patient, quiet, already inside the walls. Good night.